time. Had a couple of people kind of change their mind or back out or want to wait, which is not a good idea right now with the market that we're in. I say if you're looking to buy something, do it yesterday. No need to wait. But I'm still alive. I can't complain. Here, breathing, having a conversation with my friend, so it's all good.
The thing I can't understand about that is a lot of sellers, I mean, they want to get closed before December 31st.
A lot do.
So they haven't got to pay them property taxes. I mean, that's a motivation for agents or good, well-educated agents to get out there and start negotiating.
Right. You would think they would do that, but some folks don't grasp really a complete understanding of the process. So
get a broker that educates.
Here's what they do: they're listening to mom and dad, or Uncle Leroy, or whoever. I literally had a comparison kind of situation where she sent me the numbers, and I was beating the numbers, better interest rate, better everything. She couldn't make a decision because she had to talk to mom and dad. And I'm like, how many loans have mom and dad closed? they haven't closed anything. So I don't know.
That's one of my big things when a lot of agents, they're in the middle of buying a house. Well, I want to use this person from church. I know them from church, or I want to use a family member. Oh, so you go to church to find a good real estate agent? Go out there and do your homework. You're a family member. Okay, well, that's good. Go get yourself a good agent because they'll save you a lot more money.
Absolutely. And that's no knock on anyone wanting to use a family member or to use someone from church, but are they versed enough to give you the proper information?
Yeah, but can you imagine it? You go to church to find a real estate agent?
No, that's not why you go to church.
Get some reviews from them. I mean, that's what you need to do.
Yeah. See if they're even qualified to advise you on purchasing the home.
Yeah, well, my family members closed 2 deals in 1 year. Yeah, but that's what
That's what they say.
Use a family member, and then if they've closed 2 deals a year or 3 deals a year, well, they're really serving you well.
Yeah.
Go find yourself a professional. It's like going to the doctors and saying, "Well, I know you're making you're going to cut me open, but how many of these surgeries have you done?
Right.
How much have you practiced?"
So it's funny you say that. When I had my heart surgery, that was one of the questions I asked the doctor because he looked so young. He looked so young, and I was like, man, does this kid know what he's doing? So I asked him. He said, about 1,100. I was like, okay, I'm good. There's a lot more people with broken tickers than I think. So that made me feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that he had done it that many times.
Yeah, so he's a bit experienced about it.
He was definitely experienced.
So he had a pretty good week then.
Yeah, pretty good week for us, right? But I would say
we've done pretty well. We've been pretty, market's buoyant. Agents are out there, making a few deals. So it's been a pretty good, strong close to the end of the year. It's been pretty good, actually.
Pretty good. Yeah. And we had a good gathering on Monday with our holiday celebration.
We did have a bit of a holiday celebration.
Yeah,
I was surprised.
Good food.
It was nice to see some of the, especially after the COVID, to see some of them people that have, I thought have been sort of got lost under the bush.
Well, I say if you tell people that there's going to be food and there's no cost, they will stand to show. They will show up for you. 9 times out of 10, they'll be there to get some of that grub. So, and it was good. I must say it was good. I enjoyed it.
It was a good day.
I enjoyed it connecting. So, speaking of good days, man, it was a good day. Of course, in our area, or has been, with the temperatures kind of being all over the place. But, man, those tornadoes up in Kentucky.
The record was on the ground for 250 miles. 4 states.
Man, that's
like from here to Dallas.
Exactly. On the ground that long. And it was multiple tornadoes, as I understand. Now, I don't know if there's been a head count given on how many people lost their lives, but that was tragic to even see because it was parts of Illinois, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas. They all had some tragic endings in those areas. And some of those places, Steve, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures, man. It just looks like, as you would say, piles of rubbish.
I've just got one word for it. It's quite simple.
Definitely.
I mean, Whoever the greater God is makes you realize how grateful you should be here to.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's along with that that tragedy. There was a new warehouse for Amazon that collapsed and killed several people in that thing. I don't know, man. I just we don't get a lot of tornadoes. We get hurricanes, but you always kind of have a good warning before the hurricane actually comes. So it's not like something that just kind of pops up on you. But those tornadoes, man, they can kind of spin down out of anywhere, and you hear that siren.
I've actually been in
a tornado.
I've been in one tornado. Yeah.
Where were you?
Over in Sugarland. We was teaching over in Sugarland Ice Rink. There was a tornado in the area in the early 2000s, and I mean, we all actually went into the cafeteria, restaurant, whatever. Mm-hmm. We all was under the tables. I mean, it was frightening. The whole thing, the whole building, absolutely.
Yeah, I've heard it sounds like a train coming right for you.
It was frightening.
And I can imagine,
especially for the kids. I mean, some of them kids that are 3 and 5 years old, and that's why I pulled up this article that we found about this. Found a young baby of 2 years old
in the pile of stuff. Really?
Yeah.
Where was that at? Was that in Kentucky?
It's actually I'm jumping the gun again as always, but it's the third one down on the list that we have. 2-month-old baby dies of Kentucky tornado injuries after being flung from bathroom by wind. I mean, and these people in Kentucky have obviously before Christmas. Been very, 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 very sad.
Man, 2 months old. You wonder, where was that baby? I don't know. They would have had to find both of us, because I'm not sure I would have let go of my 2-month-old baby. I don't know. That's crazy. I don't know if something fell on the baby. Was there any details to say? So, it says the baby died after injuries after being flung from the bathroom. Okay.
No, quite honestly, I'd like to know if it was a 1-story or 2-story house.
Shoot, at that point, it really 1 or 2. I mean,
you just got to look at some of these photos, and for local businesses as well. Then I was reading another article about somebody that was in Kentucky that was basically saying that they've lost everything. They had everything in their business gone. Still got the debts. They still got everything. I just hope. Was insurance covered?
Well, if you have insurance, I think that it would cover in some windstorm damage. If you have insurance, but I would imagine, man, 250 miles of
amazing
space that it covered.
Yeah. And then, by all accounts, scientists they reckon it's going to get worse.
Wow.
So the whole, global, the climate change thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they think it's going to get worse. I mean, just the thought of when they said it'd be 50 miles, I'm like, what's that? Houston, Dallas.
Yeah, definitely.
And it covered 4 states. Affected an unbelievable amount. Very, very sad.
It definitely is sad. But I know that is tornado country up there for that area. But, man, I mean, the winds are so much more strong when it comes to those tornadoes. Completely different scale there. So, yeah, it's so speaking of, while we're still kind of talking about that, there was a worker in that Amazon warehouse that supposedly they made the workers stay and shelter in place for the hurricane, which makes sense. You would think if you got somebody, you say, hey guys, let's just stay here. Don't go anywhere. Let's make sure, blah, blah, blah.
That's the normal standard procedure.
Right. Just stay here. Well, apparently he died now because, of course, the building collapsed. Now, where we know that in this country, people sue each other for whatever. You can get sued for anything. But where will the liability come in that case? Or where do you think it would fall if you have a situation to where he was told to stay, he stayed, and then he died and he perished in the building collapse? I mean, what do you do? I mean, of course we know Jeff Bezos wasn't there, but it is his building.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think the company should be liable.
No liability.
I think it's a case of, it's an act of God. I mean, it's not Amazon's fault that there was a tornado. And I think so. Amazon said, shelter in place, stay building, correct?
Yeah.
He decided to leave, or he?
No. He stayed. That was the thing. It was time for him to go, and he was going to be leaving, or supposedly leaving, but they recommended that he stay in the building.
But it's a recommendation at the end of the day.
Well, it is a recommendation.
I don't think there should be any liability to the company. I really don't, regardless whether it's Amazon or... no, I do think I mean, there's a lot of people that died in there, that sheltering in their own homes, and they died. I don't think it's any fault of Amazon. I just think it's a way to take a bite and get some bucks. Welcome to America.
Right. So the lady, it was his girlfriend, not his wife, but they asked her if she thought it was Amazon's fault, and she agreed with you. She said, no, not really, but it's kind of one of those what if situations. What if they had let him leave, and what would have happened? Could he have made it home? So who knows, man? You never know where you can't outrun a tornado, no matter what Hollywood tells you. I don't see that being possible, but because you never know which way it's going to go.
So who was asking whether it was Amazon's fault? The media?
The media. She was getting.
They
stir it up.
The media is so screwed up.
They stir it up, man.
They really are. Much as I'm not over keen on Amazon, and the billionaire league, I think they need to pay more taxes, but at the same time, I don't hold it against the likes of Bill Bezos. Jeff Bezos, Bill Bezos, whatever his name is, because at the end of the day, I mean, he's been very successful in what he's done, and I respect him for that. Plus, I think he's an incredible opportunity, which is part of being a good business.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I've got a respect for him on that, but at the same time, because he's got the billions of dollars, looking for an opportunity.
Exactly, and sometimes that's what it comes down to. It is an opportunity, getting sued. So, kind of in that same vein, man, we talked a couple of weeks about Travis Scott having that Astroworld Festival here, and many people were killed in the stampede or whatever happened inside there. And of course, there was lawsuits being filed. I think it was like a $10 billion lawsuit. We said the largest that I've ever even imagined happening, but a lot of money. But he has been dropped from the Coachella lineup, which is another music festival like the Astroworld Festival. But I would stand to say it's probably the largest music festival.
Coachella?
Coachella. I mean, you got a lot of them that are around. So you got Astroworld, you got Austin City Live, or I think Limits, Austin City Limits they have. That comes down there. You got South by Southwest. A lot of different conferences that actually come. Coachella is kind of it's the big daddy. It's the big daddy of it.
Where's it held?
It's in California, I believe. At least I thought it was. Let's see, where is the Coachella held? I thought it was somewhere out west. Have
you really thought about, we spoke about one of the previous podcasts about, do you think that he shares any responsibility for what happened at Astroworld?
I had this discussion with my cousin who's an attorney. I think if you feel like Trump had anything to do with the January 6th situation, then so does Travis Scott. If you don't feel that Trump had anything to do with the January 6th situation, then neither does Travis Scott. Now, me personally, I don't think you can make someone do something.
I don't think Travis Scott. First of all, I think they're completely different situations. But Travis Scott, I don't think personally should share any responsibility for what happened there, because I was thinking to myself as a performer, if I'm a performer and I see chaos out there, all right, I'd like to feel that we could carry on, not for the benefit of, but I mean, at that point, is it down to the security? Is it down to the local fire department? Because they're the ones that control the safety. Who are the people that are ultimately responsible for the safety?
Well, to your point, yeah, the security people and the
fire
the people that are over the venue as well. Though, they own the building, so they should have
but I mean,
ample coverage.
If it was you in Travis Scott's situation, in the moment, what would you do? Would you want to continue to avoid like a mass stampede and absolute chaos?
Well,
I'll be honest with you, I don't know really what I'd do. Because you think to yourself, well, if I stop and I announced, okay, look, there's a problem, how people react.
Well, absolutely.
Then they would stamp over people.
If they think something's going on, right? Yeah. I think in his case, where some of the complaints were coming from, as empty as they may have been, is that because he didn't stop when someone needed assistance or someone was in need of help at the concert. But I think even beyond that, the overcrowding of these concerts and those videos that we watched, the people just pushing through past
that was
the gates.
The real problem. There was more people in the venue that should have been in the
venue. Now, the tweets aren't there anymore that I've seen, but it almost seems as if that he kind of encouraged that type of behavior. That hey, go in, we sneak in, everybody just kind of push in and push through. And I think that's where I was drawing a parallel.
But is it recorded anywhere that he promoted that behavior?
It was on Twitter. So you got the screenshots.
By Travis Scott?
Yeah, from his account.
Saying
we allow we allow those to sneak in, come, basically telling everybody to come.
Well, in that case, have a guess what he does share. That's changed my opinion.
Right, so he took him down, but of course, once you put it in the
internet, he's outside of his area. He's the performer. Right, he's not the security expert with that.
He isn't. But I think that that part of it. He shares some responsibility in it. But it was part of
that's changed my opinion completely.
Yeah, it's part of the culture in his concerts that's kind of been the thing to do, but it doesn't exempt you from any liability from it, because you got to be.
If he's out there posting it on because that's one of my biggest gripes with people that are on social media. They need to be accountable. That's the problem with social media. People aren't accountable for what they say on social. That's why I think it's caused us a lot more problems. Social media has some good uses when people aren't accountable for what they say. Freedom of speech or all of it. Got to be a limit to it. And if he's out there basically saying go against the law or go against whatever, then he should share.
And here's what it says. In the now deleted tweet, Scott said back in May of 2021 that he approves of sneaking in wild fans. He says, nah, and we still sneaking the wild ones in. And that was on May the 5th. So, and it got retweeted like 7,000 times. And
have a guess what, Travis Scott, you're about to lose all your money. I never heard of him until this whole thing happened.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not into that scene. But
you sure? I thought I saw you at a couple of those concerts. Over there
concerts
in the
have never been my thing. Ever since the first concert I went to, somebody urinated.
You have got to be kidding me.
No. I was 14 years old in my best suit.
Who was playing? The Flintstones?
No, it was actually Roxy Music.
Oh, Roxy Music.
And the guy behind me decided that if he went and take a pee, then he'd lose his spot. So he just decided to zip it out and pee on my brand new suit, and all of a sudden I'm watching Roxy Music, having a pretty good time, and I went with a friend, and felt something hot and warm down my right leg.
Really?
Yeah, and I never ever went to another concert again, apart with my wife, and that was the Rolling Stones. Yeah. So that was completely different. That was at Energy Stadium, very, very well maintained, very well
not overcrowded.
organized, wasn't chaos. You know, but I mean, some of them kids that went to that Travis concert, they were like 7 or 8 years old.
There was, yeah, some of those kids never should have been in that chaos, quite frankly. But you know, your kid likes a certain individual, you want to make them happy, so you take them over there so they can.
Right, but do they go because mom and dad like the music and dad just tugged
Possibly.
along, or is it because the kid likes the music?
Man, it's possible.
Do you think they should put a limit on it?
Our age?
I mean, I do think there's a safety issue.
Well, because I know some of the language that's used, I would say yes. You want to put a limit on it, but some people don't care about any of that. They use the language with their kids, so it doesn't matter. It's neither here nor there as far as they're concerned. So
at the end of the day, we all know that they should care.
They definitely should care.
They should.
All right, moving on, man. So we
haven't started off on a very good way today. I feel everything's been very negative.
Well, we're gonna put a bow on it in the end. We could close it up with some good real estate stuff because I got some good news coming your way. That's not on the list.
You had such a good year. You're giving me a house.
Well, not quite. Close, but we'll talk about it. I want to get your thoughts as a former Olympian. I always wonder. So this person is in college and is now competing as a woman. Although having been born male, he's competing now as a woman at one of the Ivy League schools. And now he's crushing, those are the terms that they're using, crushing the records, the swimming records that are put in the race. To give you an example, he was racing against one of the other young ladies, and it was a 1,600 meter race, and he won by 38. I said he, forgive me. They won by 38 seconds over a teammate, which is unheard of.
Well, actually. Sorry.
Come on in.
No. Jacob, you coming
as a swimmer, right?
We want you to come in.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So I used to.
Come
I
on.
actually did a lot of coaching for it as well, and 38 seconds is a long time. It type of race, it's a whole mile.
Yes.
So it takes a long time. There will be a jump. On a time, especially in. That's like Katie Ledecky swimming someone in a and probably pretty in content.
Gotcha. From a former swimmer, but as an athlete. So let's just say, I know you were a nice dancer, and you dance with women out there. But in an event, this person competed as a male for the first 3 years of their collegiate career. And now they're competing as a woman. What are your thoughts? Do you think that's a fair situation? Do you think that's something?
I personally feel this whole the transgender thing is, whether he's competed before as a man or a woman, to me is irrelevant. But I think what needs to happen is he was born a man. So whether he decides to cut it off or do whatever he wants to do, I don't know the process to what happens. But what he should be doing is competing with the men. I don't think you should be able to. I personally just feel that nature and whoever your greater God is, And I'm not, a religious person, but I think I'm a spiritual person.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel whoever you was brought on into this world, you should stay that way. But if you decide, right, that you want to become a woman, or
Or vice versa,
whatever you want
right.
to do, then you should still compete in that
As you were
in that
born.
division as you was born.
Right.
That's if you've got dangly bits, then the truth of the matter is, you should become, whether you chop them up or not is your decision.
Right.
And that's just my opinion on it. And it's like the whole thing with, restrooms and different things.
Sure.
My personal feeling is, if you're born with dangly bits and you decide to cut them off, then go into a stall, go into the man's room and use a stall.
So I think we're on the same page, with the exception of if you competed as a man, because quite frankly, I had not heard of this person before breaking any records when competing with the men, but now that they're competing with the women, they're breaking all these records, and I think it's an unfair advantage because we all know that men are naturally stronger and faster than women. And I think it's an unfair advantage. I mean, you think about if there's any opportunity for a scholarship or, some kind of, pro level sponsorship or something along those lines, the person that's now coming in second place.
Well, it'd be quite funny if they change the rules and say, well, because you've chopped off your dangly bits, you've got to go compete with the men.
Well, I don't think they're going to do that, because here's how the rule reads in the NCAA. It basically says that as long as they have been on what they call testosterone suppression for 1 year, that they will allow them to compete with the ladies, which I think is
who in their right minds made that rule?
Man, that's what they're doing.
I mean,
that's what they're doing.
I really think, I'm all for progression and I'm all for being progressive and everything else, but I just think from a competition standpoint, naturally a man is built different to a female. And at the same time, I just genuinely feel that, why did he decide to even, do that? Is it honestly because he felt that way, or he just wanted to compete and win some medals? It's worth chopping my dangly bits off just because I can break the records. Right. I mean, I'm not saying this guy did, but at the same time, does it really matter? Do you understand? He was born a man. Naturally, that's how he was naturally born.
Right.
Then he should compete with the men, to me, for the rest of his life.
Actually, and also too, some things that are being brought up is they're going to make actual separate leagues for trans people. It's another way of making it fair. There's also talks about that as a possible solution in all this, and just thinking about what to do in that case if it is deemed unfair. That's just another thing, that point that's brought out, is if maybe we make a separate league or make a separate area for those people.
I'm all for that. I think that's fair.
Yeah, so
I think that's fair. You make so they have a Special Olympics that takes place right after the regular Olympics takes place. So now you have the Special Olympics, the Paralympics. That comes after that.
Then we have the Transgender Olympics.
Yes, they have those. And that already exists. That is a thing that they have. I don't know if many people don't know that, but there is an Olympics that takes place.
Do I look surprised?
It's with the community where they compete. And everyone's welcome. So I could even go in there and run a 6-mile lap after they defibrillate me after the first lap. I mean, they don't exclude anyone. Anyone can actually do it. So it exists, but if they really came together and formed an actual league of sorts where
how would you do that? Would you have it from boy to girl, and that's one group, and then you have from girl to boy as another group?
I would have. However you classify.
Or you would just class them all as transgender, regardless which way you've gone.
Well, see, that's the thing, is because everyone doesn't identify. There's so many different choices. It's so complicated. appreciated. This is not my world, so forgive. I don't mean to offend anyone, but
No, I don't mean to
we
offend
welcome
anybody.
any opinions, of course, about it, because it's not our space. But what I do know is that it seems to be unfair with being able to compete against women. Now, I don't know if I can do this, but Jacob, someone said that your mic needed to be adjusted, your volume. I don't know if you checked yourself, but there, in the race, in the World Athletics Championships in 2019, there was a relay that took place, a mixed 4x400 relay. And I'm going to try to share this with you, Jacob, so you could put it on the screen. Start there, copy. Let me see if I'll put it in there. Just to give a little backstory about it, this was the World Athletic Championships, and if you don't know what a mixed relay is, it's men and women running. The group of women start, or the group of men start, vice versa, whatever the case is. However you want to stagger it, you can do it that way. But in this relay, for some reason, this country, I forgot what country it was, they decided they were going to start their man, one guy. This is it. They were going to start him first. And man, this dude gets out to a blazing lead on the deal. So it was one. He started out. Did it start at 5:43? Make sure, did it send you the right one? Where did it start at? 5:34. 5:34 is what it was. It may have. Let me make sure I sent you the right one. 5:34. Oh yeah, hold on.
Is it the guy in the blue?
So it starts out. Hold on.
The guy in the second lane from the edge.
And so he passes it off to a lady. See the one guy there, the one single guy. So he's lined up with women. So watch this dude. He's out of there. Strides are longer. He's faster. Going.
This is the guy with the white shirt on?
White shirt on, right. He amasses this huge lead in front of with these people. Why they decided to do it this way, they kind of front loaded him, I guess, to try to get a lead, and hoping that their anchor woman would be able to kind of pull it off in the end. But if you go, I think the next pass off is the flip. If you see the amount of space, look how far ahead he is. Now, here she is with the women. So she still got a lead. She's running with the women, winning with the women. But there's, on the very last leg in this 4x4, it's the men, because of course they're the stronger runners. So the men are there. So she's keeping her lead. It's still there. She's running against other women. And, it's cool. She's doing it. No big deal. She's running. And I forgot the name of this, what country it was. Poland. It was Poland. That's what it was.
It's just Poland, right?
So they're running, and she's ahead. Got a good lead. Look at her. Coming around the curve, still a good lead. Maybe not as big as when he had it, but still a big lead. But when she passes off this baton on the next leg, so you got this lady. And she's got a good run, but she's running against men. All men. Passed it off. She had a huge lead. Look at this guy. He's coming up on her. It's like she's standing still. Look. This is evident. Okay, so she's still in second place, right? It's cool. She's coming around that last little bend where they were going to the last 200 meters, I would say.
But she's not going to end up second.
Well, she's definitely not first. Oh, now she's third. Oh, now she's fourth. Oh, man, now she's fifth. She ends up dead last. Dead last.
Which proves the point.
Exactly. That proves our point. It's not a fair race. It's not fair for
And
this
you know, the
individual.
whole thing with sport that I was always brought up on is fairness, sportsmanship.
Absolutely.
You know, in success or defeat, it was also, you know, respecting.
Absolutely.
Because indirectly, what is that? Being a better person is humanity. That's part of being a human.
Absolutely.
Or should be.
Should be, definitely. But yeah, so I'm not with this. I know we want to be inclusive and allow, you know, certain things to take place, but I'd be amiss to say that I'm with this, that I'm cool with this individual competing with my daughter if I had a daughter. Yeah, that would stink. So, all right, man, this is your buddy here. Mark Meadows, you got some information on this one, huh?
Yeah, I just want to know what your opinion is on the whole thing with Mark Meadows. You know, he's published a book, he's released some information, and then in the other breath, what he's doing is telling Congress that, you know, it's privileged information. So what it boils down to is he's making money, you know, from his book.
Of course.
And then I just think this is another example of political corruption. You know, and the whole thing with Congress and finding out what, you know, has been going on, because apparently, you know, he's released some information, but there's 9,000 pages that he hasn't released for information and texts and different things that he had with different people. One of the things that came out, I was watching last night on one of the programs, was apparently there was text between Trump Jr. and Mr. Trump basically saying, look, you've got to do something to just get a message through to these people to tell them to calm it down and stop it. And, you know, that's Trump Jr.
Mm-hmm.
So, but for some reason, Mr. Trump has asked Mark Meadows not to release different information, giving him permission to release other information. And I really think that people need to, like I told you before, people need to be accountable regardless which side of the fence they're on, because it really is making the United States giving us a disease.
What's that disease?
All the diseases, you know, the politicians need to be accountable. Regardless which side of the fence you're on. I'm not bothered with,
because they kind of live above the law,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And, you know, I know we was talking a little bit about this beforehand, but you were saying behind the scenes, they're all buddies.
Yes,
all,
exactly.
You know, but I mean, honestly, until we start to put people like you and me are both of the same, we need, you know, another party.
Right.
That's part of the problem, rather on one side of the fence or the other side of the fence. You know, you'd mentioned to me about the libertarians.
There's a Green Party. There's a Forward Party.
Correct.
Yeah, Andrew Yang's Forward Party that he started.
You know, and I really think that that's really what we need. But the problem is with the two-party system, is what happens, we end up diluting the people.
Right.
So the people that are more extreme, we end up putting them in, sort of alienates more people for voting.
It does. And I think because people focus so much on the presidential races, they don't go out to the ones that really, really matter, which is this coming year. November the 8th, 2022 is when you need to get out and vote in the U.S. elections for the seats in Congress and the Senate. Those guys, they make the laws. They pass the laws, submit these bills and such. And don't get me wrong, the presidential race is important, but these are the folks that are supposedly, they have our voice. Yeah. And it works different in Europe. I know it works different in Europe because
there was some comments
they
made,
have it a little bit different.
And there was
set
some
up.
comments made last night that apparently some of these people were using Gmail accounts.
What?
To message, yeah, they were using Gmail accounts, email accounts for, you know.
That's got to be a violation.
So all these other circumstances are, you know, coming in, especially with all the fuss that was made about, you know, Hillary with her emails and everything else. So Until we look at everything on a flat basis, then the politicians need to be accountable for what they're doing. I just feel that as Mr. UK, if you want to, over here, coming over here to live my American dream, and I feel the system is just fucked. And until people step up and vote, that they vote, I think what everybody should do at the moment, the way I feel is, honestly, get a third party. We should all vote for that third party, and then we can hopefully vote to cut out part of this nonsense.
So to that point, and we talked a little bit earlier, Jo Jorgensen was the Libertarian nominee for president, but most folks didn't even know who she was.
Well, I made that comment too. I went to vote, and I thought it was, Republican and Democrat, and I made my decision who I was voting for.
Right.
And I get there to the sheet, and there's 4 names.
Like, who is this person?
And I knew nothing about them. You can argue whether you should be more educated about it, but the truth of the matter is, I'm like, well, I don't even know what they stand for. I don't even know what they're there to represent. So educate us, James.
Well, you've got these extra parties, I mean, that exist, the Libertarian and Green Party, and now with Andrew Yang's Forward Party, rather than just the Democrat and Republican, because quite frankly, they are not the parties of old or what they used to be. And as much as, the Republican Party goes by the grand old party, it's just not the party that it used to be. And you got many people that are chameleons. They will affiliate with the party, and before you know it, they're flipping to the other side, or they do something. Donald Trump himself was a Democrat.
Right.
So it's like it happens all the time. People just end up flipping, and when you have just the 2 choices, then you're only left with the 2 choices. They never invite anyone else to the debates. They never have any kind of separate debates for those third parties. But I think if people got behind pushing a third party, and I'm not saying that I agree with everything Andrew Yang says or even what Jo Jorgensen says, but I think if there was another option, then that would kind of hold these guys a little more accountable to really truly holding to what they need to, or what they say they're going to do when it comes to trying to gather a vote.
Right.
Rather than someone saying, oh, well, my mom was a Republican, or my dad was a Republican, I'm going to be a Republican. That shouldn't be the reason why you affiliate with a
yeah. And have you heard about this PowerPoint presentation supposedly that came out before January the 6th, saying what was going to happen, and there was a whole plan?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was a PowerPoint presentation that came out that basically was sent to different people to say that this is the plan so we can go and get the election overturned. And this is one of the comments that the panel said yesterday. One of the documents the panel had planned to ask Meadows about was an email he allegedly sent on January the 5th saying National Guard troops would be on hand to protect pro-Trump people the next day. Meadows twice refused to attend scheduled depositions. The second was December the 6th, a day after his book recounting his time as former President Donald Trump's chief of staff was released. In it, Meadows recounts conversations with Trump and downplays the violence on January the 6th, which disrupted the counting of the electoral vote and led to over 700 arrests as the work of a handful of fanatics.
Right.
That he would sell his telling of the facts of that day while denying a congressional committee the opportunity to ask him about the attack on our Capitol marks an historic aggressive defiance of Congress. So he's okay printing it in a book where he's getting his dollars, that Congress, you can just turn around and say, no, I'm not showing up. I'm not doing anything.
Right.
And that is, part of, and there's another part that I've put in here that I want to discuss at the end of this, which is
it tied to this? Shoot, jump in. I mean, you may as well.
Well, one of the things that I sort of came across last night, I was just scalping around on YouTube, and it was basically coming up where John Boehner was being questioned about the use of marijuana. And he was basically saying that that he has, he's all for opening up, marijuana. Well, it now turns out that apparently one of the corporations that supports marijuana is that they're one of the people that's sponsoring, or has sponsored his political career in the background. And
So mum is the word on marijuana now, huh?
what's that?
Mum is the word on marijuana now. So he's not really saying much.
It just makes you think. I mean, it just makes you think, really? I mean, is that what we're coming to? The freedom of the world that we're supposed to have? And, here we are. Regardless which side of the fence you're on, unless people are accountable, there's no way on earth how they should, just be. It's corruption. I mean, it's quite simple, out and out corruption.
Well, it's a money grab for sure. You know my stance on the whole drug thing. I've said it on here before. I'll reiterate. Drugs are terrible. The use of, I'm not for it at all, but to criminalize the use of marijuana for recreational or for medicinal purposes, I think I don't agree with. I think one should be free to buy and use it. If you want to do it, that's your prerogative, but they should tax it. I think they should tax it and get the revenue off of it and apply it to some of the stuff that needs to be taken care of. That's just my personal thoughts. I was reading an article the other week, and they did a span from like 2000 to 2010. There were over 8 million marijuana arrests. 8 million.
And the majority of them people are African American.
Well, not even just that, but 88% of that 8 million was for simply just having marijuana. So they're not arresting like kingpins and these manufacturers of these big, large, conglomerates of people out selling drugs. It's just regular, everyday folks like you and me.
One of the other parts that was interesting, and I'm skipping through the videos, my history on what I've looked at, but one of the things that was interesting was there is a minority-owned marijuana company, with the dispensaries.
Mm-hmm.
And they are the only minority-owned dispensary where they've been granted to have a dispensary.
Do you remember
a lot of other minority-owned companies with marijuana have been turned down for one reason or another, and yet 40% of the people that have been
locked up have
been, so
you can thank your vice president for some of that.
So that's the part that I don't understand, and I really do agree with you as well. Is we should legalize it, just like gambling.
Absolutely. And prostitution.
Because then it's controlled.
Yep.
We
Regulated.
can control it. Although there's some people that say we're giving up our freedoms, well, but that's not. I don't think we're better off making money and putting that money, hopefully, into some community projects.
Sure.
And local communities to help grow communities, but.
I don't know. I think the use of drugs, man, it's a personal choice. And as much as I don't agree with them, I mean, you send somebody to jail, is that really rehabilitating them? Especially since you can get just about every drug on the street inside the jails anyways. So it's really not helping the person because that stuff exists inside the jail walls. So I don't know, man. It's one of those things where I don't think it's a problem. Of course, with Nancy Reagan saying just say no, that is not the problem, or the answer to the problem, shall I say. But that's where we live. That's where we are today. And a little bit of money, I guess, from that industry can make you flip the script and change your tune when it comes to doing things, at least according to that John Boehner article that you put out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was just interesting to sort of all of a sudden he approves marijuana and he stood up in front of the, well, actually, what he actually said was, "I'm open to marijuana."
Discussing, yeah.
Where at one time that wasn't the case. That at one time that was just not what he said when he stood up in front of Congress or whoever it was. I mean, but then he was questioned by a reporter, and basically said, why he's changed. And then the reporter delved into it and found out that apparently he was sponsored by somebody.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he left it. He's kind of vague with it because he's already involved in it. So it is what it is, sir. It is what it is.
So anyway, let's move.
All right, moving on.
What's your feelings on this, James?
What's
Man
that?
in Houston gunned down on bond for murder.
Now, I didn't see this article before you actually threw it in here. Who killed him?
A Texas man charged with murder in a December 2020 road rage incident was recently gunned down in a convenience store while out on bond, according to police. Mr. Potts, 22, entered a Primos food store in northwest Houston on Sunday, December the 12th, and an unknown man walked in behind him, pulled out a gun, and shot him several times.
Now, do you think it's tied to the person that he killed? That would be my thought, because if he was arrested from that whole road rage where he killed someone, I don't know. So you got arrested in last year. It's not even a year later. You're out on bond. Why are you out on bond anyway?
Well, that's my disgust with it. You kill somebody and you can go out on bond.
And a road rage incident type of killing.
I wonder if he lost his driving license.
Who knows?
But that's where I think we really mess up, because I don't see how these people can go out on bond. I mean, really, when if they've shot somebody and they've got the possibility of, doing a long sentence, they really care about breaking their bond.
So check this out. Okay, so Potts killed the driver of a pickup truck, Travis Roden, over a minor car accident. While stopped at an intersection, Potts and a female passenger got out of the vehicle. The woman began screaming at him. Meanwhile, the Chronicle says that Potts was repeatedly banging on the hood. When the light turned green, Roden tried to drive away. And that's when Potts opened fire, hitting him in the head. So you decide, we get into a minor car accident. I'm going to drive off. That's not cool, but okay, you're driving off. But you're shooting at him? And you're out on bond? Come on, man. There's no way this guy should be out on bond. But you know what they say? What goes around comes back around again. I think this is a retaliation hit type of situation, because you shot someone in a road rage incident and their family member been keeping up with you, tracking you down, caught you at a convenience store. Boom.
Emotions building up.
There you go. You live by the gun, you die by the gun.
I just think it
sucks. It's not cool, but it is a situation that you look at and it's like, man, that is terrible that it happened for both of them, really. Right. For both of the people. So
totally, screwed up. But if you're out on bond, then it's another case.
Yeah. So speaking of bond, this just came when I was looking at that last article. So Derek Chauvin pled guilty to violating George Floyd's civil rights. I guess they were still doing some civil suits. We already know he was convicted of murder earlier in the year, but in his civil case, I guess they're not taking him back to trial or anything. He just pled guilty on it. So with that, I'm assuming there'll be some more penalty, be it time or some kind of financial compensation. I don't know how you get blood out of a turnip in that case, but apparently he did plead guilty. That just came across the aisle here as we were reading that last article.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can you bring up that last article about the Boehner? So I wanted to bring something up which I thought was interesting, because I want to know how this works. Have you got it on the screen? Okay.
Okay, there we go.
Can you scroll down just a little bit? Stop. So it says marijuana moment. Illinois announces $45 million in marijuana-funded grants to support community reinvestment. We're prioritizing investments in communities that were previously
Harmed for what is now legal.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think it's the right thing to do.
I think we should be raising taxes for this, because if not, it's only going on under the table.
Well, not raising taxes, just taxing that, I would say.
No, well
taxing that the marijuana. That's why I think it should be legal.
I would rather marijuana be taxed than me or you.
Oh, absolutely. And to the point, it can be regulated, man. Anytime you can regulate this stuff.
Same as with, the casinos. I can't believe when I go to Dallas, when the amount of people that I speak to there, they drive up to Oklahoma just for the casinos, because it's not far away.
I got a friend of mine that does that. He goes to play poker. That does that. So people are going to do it either way. You may as well be able to kind of get a little tax on it and, move on down the line. So is what it is, man. Is what it is.
Here's another one here. If you scroll down a little bit on that, it says New Hampshire lawmakers look to Maine and Vermont for marijuana legalized lessons in 2022. We could raise a whole bunch of money and potentially cut property taxes.
Hey, I like that idea. Cutting property taxes, I can live with it.
Yeah. Leading marijuana reform group hires Illinois Governor Cannabis Czar as president and CEO. Cannabis legalization work is wrapped around my soul now. So when I got the call from MPP, it was no-brainer.
There's a lot of people more for it than once was. I will say that. Dude, even myself, I don't think I've always felt this way.
I'm epileptic. I
Right.
went to my doctor last week and I said, actually some time ago, it wasn't last week actually. So I actually had an appointment with him yesterday. But I turned around and said, is there anything in this, marijuana stuff? And he said, well, at the moment, there's no scientific proof that it helps. There's a lot of people out there that are saying that it does help because it reduces the electrical pulses in the brain, which reduces, that's basically what some of the epileptic drugs do. It reduces the electric pulses, in the brain. So that's basically what it does as well. I'll be honest with you, I'm not really that enthusiastic about taking marijuana.
But if it helps, it's better than a pill, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of a mixed feeling.
Sure, of
because
course.
there's a principle to it.
Exactly.
And at the moment I'm pretty controlled. There's a new drug that's just come out that has really worked well for me, so I'm hoping that continues. So they're trying to get me off the amount of drugs that I'm on, but at the same time, for a lot of people, it has been recorded that marijuana has helped some of the, even younger kids.
Right.
In different medical situations. I mean, at the end of the day, what is a drug? It's basically a modified plant.
Right.
So,
no, I agree.
Yeah. Missouri Supreme Court hears case on medical marijuana licensing secrets. The state has chosen winners and losers in the case. So it's starting to happen.
Oh yeah. it's eventually. I mean, it's legal in some states. We already know, so it'll be legal eventually. They just got to lift the federal bans on it so people can, move forward with being able to put it in the bank and make revenue off of it. So it is what it is, sir.
So tell us what's going on in there.
So
some good news.
yeah, so we went through that list pretty good. So I don't know if you're familiar with a place called Great Wolf Lodge. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
Okay. Let me see if I have you can try to pull that up, Jacob. Great Wolf Lodge is essentially an amusement park of sorts, a water park. And they are the one that I know of is up in Dallas, that Grand Prairie area. And it's literally, Steve, it's a hotel, but it has an indoor water park in it. Pretty amazing establishment.
What part of Dallas is this in?
Grapevine. That's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in Grapevine. Pretty amazing setup, because you drive up, as you can see, they got the big wolves out there in the front. Drive in, you check in, you get a hotel. If you stay in the hotel, you get a pass to the indoor water park. And it's literally just enclosed. I mean, you can let your kids kind of run. They got a wave pool in there. They've got huge water slides. A lot of things to do for people. It's kind of like a Schlitterbahn type setup. But they're building one here in Houston. It is coming to the Webster area. So that is not only is it going to bring revenue to the community, it'll bring jobs here, and it'll of course kind of bring back some amusement notoriety. Because when we lost Astro World, man, it's kind of like, okay, what is there left to do in Houston? And of course, we know there's a lot of stuff to do in Houston, but having Astro World here as an amusement park, part of that Six Flags family, it's pretty cool to see that they're bringing this type of entertainment back to the city. And of course, if you're not familiar with the Houston area, Webster is south of the city, but they've already purchased the land.
Webster, League City, and all.
Yeah, all that Friendswood, all down there.
Galveston. I mean,
I would say it's going to be that. So there's a Costco down there. And I would think it is going to be kind of in that general area, because that's where Baby Mall is as well. So having the Great Wolf Lodge there, man, I think that's going to be good for that area, because it's also on the way to Galveston. That 45 takes you all the way to Galveston, but having Great Wolf Lodge in the city, that'd be cool. That'd be cool to kind of have it. So I didn't build your house, but they are going to be bringing a hotel of sorts. So if you wanted to kind of go to a home away from home and get into your what they call them, your knickers.
So when I
get in the pool.
So when I have the next freeze and I run out of water, I know where to go.
There you go. You can go there,
yeah,
and go to the indoor heated water park that is Great Wolf Lodge Resort. So it's coming. It's coming, guys. I don't know if the article showed the dates when it's coming, but I know they've gone through some approval processes and they purchased the lands. Supposed to be 2025. Construction starts in 2025. So several years off. But once they start it, it'll be done. So I would say before the turn of the decade, we'll have the Great Wolf Lodge up and running out there. So
by the time that it's bullet train from Dallas to Houston,
you're right.
A whole trip to both of the Great Wolf
You are
Lodge,
not incorrect. Jacob, you could actually do that. But hey, don't have to go too far from home to get it done. But yeah.
How long will that bullet train take to get to Dallas?
I think they said it was half or like 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah,
So crazy thing, my wife and I took the bullet train in Europe from Paris to Barcelona. Which is normally, I want to say, in the car, it's like 10 hours. I think we did it in like 5.5. And man, that train was moving. So if it's anywhere close to the technology there, it's it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see it, to see how it all takes place, and kind of go from there. So,
Yeah.
what else you got, man?
So I guess that wraps it up for today.
Yeah. You had some information on the. I guess we can talk more about the investment piece. On it, you were giving down in the description. I don't know if those links were working or they're available, but if anybody is interested in investing, or
he hasn't managed to change the link yet,
joining, or to be down there.
But we'll get that changed up.
We'll get it
So
changed.
if anybody's interested in investing and different things, we've got some links down there, which I think was it's a great about learning more about it and different things. But we'll get them changed up. But we'll get that done.
Absolutely, that sounds good. Sounds good. So if you're looking at joining a real estate community, becoming a realtor and/or a loan officer, look at our description down below, and reach out to us if you need anything. If you're looking to buy, sell, rent, or get a mortgage, we can help you. We can help you with that. So join us at the table every week, Wednesday, 10 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Look forward to seeing you guys.
Absolutely. Keep living the dream, guys.
Alrighty.
And also, don't while we're here, our Spotify.
Oh yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jacob. We forgot.
Good
On
point, Jacob.
Spotify.
Yeah, we're on Spotify, so you can always join us on Spotify if you're in the car and such like. Or
Yeah, you don't have time to sit and watch and see our ugly mugs, or at least Steve's. I am gorgeous. You can actually check us out on Spotify, so that's cool. Appreciate you throwing that in there, Jacob. We'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channel.
Look forward to seeing you all next week, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.